We been through a lot. You feel me? Yeah, everybody lost people. We lost people. But shit, most important shit, we lost our time. You feel me? We had to be away from our family. So coming home, like, damn, what the hell can a nigga do to grow? It like we gonna keep doing this shit and then end up back in jail. One of our homies dead or one of us dead. Or we gonna fit this shit and make this shit look good for the A. You feel me? So we just like fuck it. Shit, let's do one. Some people gonna be mad, some people gonna be happy. But who care? We gotta goddamn deal with the outcome of this shit. You feel me? That nigga gotta set an example for the young nigga. You feel me? Cause if they don't see that shit, I ain't gonna never change. Shit, I got a son. You feel me? I don't want him to grow up like that.
The man who carried the YFN flag through federal indictments, jail stabbings, and one of the longest criminal trials in Georgia history came home and made peace with the enemy. And for some people inside his own camp, that's the one move they can never forgive. Right now, voices connected to YFN are saying Lucci isn't welcome back in Atlanta after getting cool with Young Thug. So today we're breaking down how these two became sworn enemies, what it actually cost both of them, how they ended up on the same song after nearly a decade of hostility, and whether there's any real evidence behind the claim that Lucci got locked out of his own city. To understand why this hit so hard, you need to know who these two men actually are. YFN Lucci, born Rayshawn Bennett, came up in Summer Hill, one of Atlanta's toughest neighborhoods. He got into fights, got expelled, tried working a regular job, and eventually walked away from all of it and back to the streets. He linked with his brothers and formed a crew that became YFN, Young Fly N, with Cash, later just YFN. That wasn't a rap name, that was an identity. When he dropped Key to the Streets in 2016, it went certified platinum and put him on the national map. He followed it with Every Day We Lit, featuring PNB Rock. He became one of the most recognized faces out of Zone 3, and everything he did carried that flag with him. Young Thug, born Jeffrey Lamar Williams, came out of Jonesboro South, one of the most dangerous housing projects in the city's history. What made him different was everything: his voice, his unpredictable melodies, his willingness to break every rule Atlanta rap had ever set. By the mid-2010s, he was one of the most influential artists in the genre, and his collective YSL was rising right alongside him. Publicly, YSL stood for Young Stoner Life, a label and creative movement. In the streets, and eventually in federal court documents, it stood for something else entirely: Young Slime Life. That contradiction would eventually swallow everything. The roots of this beef go back to 2015, and they run far deeper than music. That year, a man named Donovan Thomas Jr., known as OG Nut, was killed. He wasn't a peripheral figure. He was the person who helped put Lucci on, someone Lucci trusted like family. Later indictment documents tied OG Nut to his own street affiliations, and the belief inside YFN that YSL members were responsible for his death is widely identified as the spark that turned a potential music rivalry into something generational. That kind of loss doesn't process like a diss track. It calcifies, and OG Nut wasn't the end of it. Later reporting connected his death to as many as 37 documented murders across the broader conflict. Every funeral added another layer of obligation. Every loss made retaliation feel not just justified, but required. The public beef escalated in the music first. Lucci took shots at Thug for claiming he was the new Tupac on his 2017 album, writing online that Pac would have never worn a dress, a direct jab at Thug's fashion choices. Thug responded, and what had been simmering between two camps connected by shared geography and real grief became something the whole city was watching. Then it moved past the internet. In 2019, Lucci's car was shot up in Atlanta. He wasn't in it, but authorities believed he was the target. This was no longer beef in the abstract. In January 2021, Lucci turned himself in on charges connected to a 2020 drive-by that left 28-year-old James Adams dead. He was charged with felony murder among more than a dozen counts and placed in Fulton County Jail, where, according to court filings, he was stabbed while in custody. Prosecutors in the later YSL RICO trial alleged YSL members had conspired to have him killed while incarcerated. In apparent retaliation, YFN-affiliated individuals were accused of attacking an alleged YSL associate inside the jail. The conflict didn't stop when the cell doors closed. It followed both camps inside. In May 2021, Lucci and 11 others were named in a 105-count RICO indictment targeting alleged Bloods activity: murder, armed robbery, drug trafficking, racketeering. A year later, in May 2022, Georgia indicted Young Thug and nearly 24 alleged YSL associates in what became the longest-running criminal trial in state history, alleging YSL was a street gang, not just a label. OG Nut's death was cited directly in that indictment as part of the documented history between the camps. In February 2023, prosecutors subpoenaed Lucci, still incarcerated, to testify against Thug. He refused. He posted on Instagram, "Even in an earthquake, we wouldn't break." That refusal earned him respect from people on both sides of the divide. The legal chapters closed within months of each other. In January 2024, Lucci accepted a plea deal. 12 of 13 counts dropped, including the felony murder charge, in exchange for pleading guilty to a single gang terrorism count. He was sentenced to 10 years with 10 years probation, and with time served, walked out of custody a free man on January 31, 2025. Thug's case ended differently, but landed in a similar place. In October 2024, after 2.5 years of trial, he pleaded guilty to gang, drug, and firearm charges, receiving time served and 15 years probation, with one brutal condition. He was barred from entering Metro Atlanta for a decade. Here's the part nobody saw coming. Within months of both men coming home, word spread that they were actually talking, not through lawyers, but directly, processing what the years in custody had taken from them. Lucci explained it plainly in an interview later, saying they'd both lost people, but more than that, they'd lost time with their families they'd never get back. And coming home, you have to decide. Keep the cycle going and risk ending up dead or locked up again, or fix it. They chose to fix it, and put it on record. On September 26, 2025, both men dropped albums the same day. Thug released UI Scooty, Lucci released Already Legend, and each featured the other. Lucci appeared on Thug's track What Up Jesus, alongside Future. Thug showed up on Lucci's Still Waiting, alongside 21 Savage. Sources close to both camps confirmed it was deliberate, a coordinated, public close to a war that had defined Atlanta rap for a decade. Lucci said it directly. Some people were going to be mad, some were going to be happy, but they'd have to deal with the outcome either way. The reaction from Atlanta's broader rap community was largely supportive. 21 Savage addressed the criticism online, framing the collaboration as breaking a cycle that had sent too many people to prison or early graves. Killer Mike went further on Club Shay Shay, framing it as an Atlanta story bigger than music, arguing the city's economic identity as a business and tourism hub can't coexist with unresolved street violence. Thug himself, addressing a crowd outside the Fulton County Courthouse, said simply that he and Lucci had come a long way from the trenches and gotten rid of their problems. But not everyone inside YFN felt that way. Voices connected to the camp went public with real anger, saying nobody actually wanted this beef in the first place, that people had lost their lives believing in what that flag represented, and that making music together now felt like a betrayal of everyone still grieving. The sharpest accusation making the rounds, that Lucci and Thug poured lighter fluid on a fire, let other people burn in it, and then walked into a studio together like none of it happened. That's where the band narrative actually comes from, and it spread fast, fed by screenshots, reaction videos, and comment sections. But here's what the facts actually show. There is no verified public evidence that YFN Lucci was officially banned from Atlanta. No formal statement from YFN leadership, no organizational decision on record. What exists is real anger from real people who lost real things: friends, years, freedom, behind a war they didn't start and weren't consulted before it ended. That anger is completely valid. But personal grief posted online and a formal exile are two very different things, and the internet doesn't always know the difference. Lucci came home carrying a 10-year probation tail, and everything those years cost him, now rebuilding a career that Already Legend is meant to define on his own terms. Thug remains barred from Metro Atlanta until the mid-2030s, legally locked out of the city that made him, even as his album's features prove his relationship survived everything the state threw at him. Not every beef ends. Not every set of rivals chooses to survive their history instead of staying defined by it. These two did. And for the people still angry about it, that anger deserves to be heard. Without being turned into a headline the facts don't actually support. Two men from the same city, shaped by the same grief, spent a decade as enemies. It cost them years, people they loved, and time with their families they'll never get back. When they came home, they looked at what was left and chose to fix it publicly, knowing not everyone would celebrate that choice. Lucci wasn't banned from Atlanta by YFN. What happened is messier and more human than that. A decision that divided people who each had very different reasons for staying invested in a war that had already taken too much. What do you think? Was this reconciliation earned, or did they owe more to the people who paid the real price for this conflict? Drop your thoughts below.